What if the life you call reality isn't a solid world you re-trapped inside, but a dream you're learning to steer? What if your anxiety, your synchronicities, your déjà vu, your sudden awakenings aren't random glitches, but messages from the deeper architecture of your soul? Today we step to the threshold where spirit meets psyche, where the invisible becomes intimate, and the dream of being begins to reveal who is actually dreaming you. In this journey, we are going to learn the hidden alchemy behind awakening, how spirit moves like a living current through your life, and how the psyche, your inner world of symbols, shadows, desires, and archetypes, becomes the sacred language spirit uses to wake you up. By the end of this video, you'll be able to understand the difference between spirit and the psyche, without making them enemies. Recognize the signs that you're crossing an awakening threshold and what it's asking of you. Decode your inner experiences, dreams, triggers, synchronicities, as initiations, not problems. Begin a simple way to align your inner world so awakening becomes stable, not chaotic. This isn't motivation. This is alchemy, the art of turning confusion into clarity, pain into wisdom, and life into a conscious path. To awaken is not to become spiritual. It is to have the courage to admit a terrifyingly simple truth: you have been dreaming, not only at night, but in daylight, in habit, in identity, in the repeating stories you call, "This is just who I am." Because the first gate of awakening is not light, it is honesty. The honesty to say, maybe I am not seeing reality as it is. Maybe I am seeing reality through the lens of my conditioning, my fears, my desires, through the inherited scripts of family, culture, and survival. This is the dream, a beautifully convincing trance where the world feels solid, and yet your soul keeps sending signals that something deeper is moving underneath it all. That's why synchronicities disturb you. That's why certain moments feel charged, as if time bent for a second. That's why you can't unsee what you've started to see. Because some part of you has begun to remember, you are not only a body. And now, I invite you, gently but unmistakably, to peer beyond the veil of skin and bone. Not to reject the physical, but to recognize it as a garment, not your identity, a temple, not a prison. Feel this. Your body is real, but it is not the whole of you. Your thoughts are loud, but they are not the source of you. Your emotions are powerful, but they are not the throne of you. You are something layered. You are a being of dimensions, a consciousness moving through multiple rooms at once, even if your waking mind has only been living in one. The physical world is the surface, but you, seeker, are interdimensional by design. So consider this the invitation. Don't ask, am I awakening? Ask instead, what part of me is still asleep? What part of me is still dreaming the old dream? And what part of me is already standing at the edge of the veil, waiting for me to catch up? Because awakening begins the moment you stop living as a single-layer creature and start remembering yourself as a multi-dimensional soul wearing a human name. And once you see that, the dream can't hold you the same way again. Now we enter the inner temple, the place most people confuse with their personality, but which is far older, deeper, and more mysterious than a mood or a mindset. This is the psyche. And to speak of the psyche only as a psychology is to shrink an ocean into a glass, because the word itself is ancient. In its Greek roots, psyche does not mean a diagnosis. It means the soul, the vital force that animates the human being, the breath behind the breath, the invisible current that gives your life its inner weather. The psyche is not just thoughts. It is not just emotions. It is the living field where your memories, desires, wounds, dreams, instincts, and symbols gather, like a hidden archive within you. It is the inner world where your life is interpreted, and sometimes distorted, because the psyche is an accumulator of ages. It holds the conscious mind, what you can name, explain, and remember. And it holds the unconscious, what you cannot easily see, but which still steers your reactions, your attractions, your fears, and your patterns. Think of it like this. Your spirit is the light, but the psyche is the lamp the light shines through, and that lamp has fingerprints on it, not only from your childhood, but from generations, from collective memory, from what the ancients called the sleep of humanity, the long trance where people forget their origin and chase shadows for meaning. This is why your psyche can feel ancient. You don't just carry your experiences. You carry accumulated longings, old desires that were never completed, old fears that were never healed, old stories that were never questioned. The psyche becomes a vessel filled with unfinished echoes. The hunger to be seen, the dread of abandonment, the need to control, the fear of not being enough, the longing for a love that finally feels like home. These are not bad. They are simply stored energies, humanity's unfinished lessons, personalized inside you. And here is the sacred paradox. The psyche is a mirror of spirit, but it is not always a clean mirror. It reflects spirit the way a lake reflects the moon. Beautiful, yes. But if the water is disturbed, the reflection breaks into fragments. So often the psyche remains tethered to the mental world, to fantasy, to worry, to rehearsal, to regret. It can become a private universe of what-ifs. What if it goes wrong? What if they leave? What if I'm not ready? What if I miss my destiny? And in that world, the psyche becomes a storyteller, spinning futures that haven't arrived, replaying past pain as if it's happening now, and mistaking imagined danger for truth. That's why awakening isn't about destroying the psyche. It's about purifying the mirror, not by force, but by awareness, by learning to recognize when your inner world is reflecting spirit, and when it is only reflecting the mind's fog. And once you learn that difference, you stop being ruled by the psyche's weather, and you begin to become the one who can read the sky. Now, lift your awareness higher than the mind, higher than memory, higher than the inner weather of emotion and story. Because beyond the psyche, beyond even what we call my soul, there is something that does not age, something that does not panic, something that does not need to prove itself. This is spirit. Spirit is a field, an energetic ocean of consciousness, and it exists outside the tight cage of time and space. Time belongs to the body. Time belongs to the psyche that keeps score. Time belongs to the personality that says, I'm running out. I'm late. I missed it. But spirit does not live by minutes. Spirit moves like eternity moves, quietly, continuously, without fear. It is the timeless witness, the awareness that can watch thoughts arise and dissolve without being swallowed by them. It is the part of you that is still here when everything changes. And when people first touch spirit, they often describe it the same way: a sudden stillness, a vastness, a calm that doesn't make logical sense, because you've stepped into the eternal field. Now let's map the interrelated trinity. Many seekers get lost because they try to awaken with only the mind. But the mind is a tool, not the throne. So here is the map. Spirit is the highest field, the timeless ocean of consciousness, the source current. Beneath spirit lies the psyche, the inner world, the symbolic realm, the place where your human experience is stored, shaped, and translated. And within the psyche moves the soul, your vital force, your unique life current, the animated you that journeys, learns, and evolves. Not separate, not in competition, but interrelated, like layers of one living reality. Spirit is the sun, radiant, stable, unchanging. Soul is the ray, a unique expression of that light moving into experience. Psyche is the lens, the inner medium that bends the ray into images, symbols, and stories you can understand. And they are all connected through a field of interdimensional consciousness. This is why you can just know something without proof. Why a dream can feel more real than a conversation. Why certain people enter your life like a prophecy. When you live only from the psyche, life feels like survival. When you live only from the soul, life feels like passion. But when you live from spirit, life becomes guidance. In the deepest esoteric traditions, the final truth is not a concept. It is a recognition. You are not the body. You are not the thoughts. You are not even the shifting theater of emotions. You are awareness itself. Before your name was given to you, something in you already existed. Before your story began, something in you was already present. That presence is gnosis, direct knowing. And the doorway into that knowing is a simple, ancient vibration. I am. Not I am this. Not I am that. Not I am what happened to me. Just I am. This is the anchor of awareness in any reality. Because realities change, bodies age, identities evolve, dreams dissolve, but I am remains. And when this recognition stabilizes, something extraordinary happens. You stop being moved by experience like a leaf in the wind, and you begin to move through experience like a lucid dreamer. In many esoteric systems, what binds a being to repeating cycles is not punishment. It is unconsciousness, identification. The psyche clings, the soul longs, the mind loops, and the wheel keeps turning because the dreamer keeps forgetting it is dreaming. But when you understand the inner laws, when you embrace what the ancients called the mind of the all, the greater field of consciousness from which all minds arise, the grip of the cycle loosens, because you are no longer pulled by blind cravings and blind fears. You are no longer thrown by unconscious momentum. From this perspective, involuntary return ends when the I am becomes stable, when awareness is no longer a visitor, but a throne, Not because you escape existence, but because you finally meet existence consciously. Here is the shift that separates the seeker from the sovereign. The unawakened life is mostly reaction. But the awakened being becomes a creator, not because they control every external event, but because they no longer allow the external world to dictate their inner throne. They stop asking life, "What are you going to do to me?" and begin asking, "What am I choosing to generate through this moment?" Because once you are anchored in I am, reality is no longer a prison you must endure. It is a field you can shape. And the first act of creation is detachment, not coldness, clarity, the sacred distance that breaks the spell. From that clarity, creation begins, not as wishful thinking, but as will. Will is coherence, alignment. Your thoughts, feelings, and choices begin to point in one direction, one frequency. And life responds to frequency like a mirror responds to what stands before it. Many traditions teach that this life is not the only room consciousness can occupy. Existence is a spectrum of states, subtle realms, inner dimensions, worlds of form and worlds without form. In that map, the body is a temporary dream you are inhabiting, and awakening is learning to become lucid inside the dream. When consciousness is no longer chained to identification, it becomes mobile. It can enter different states with intention. Where awareness goes, reality forms. And in the higher esoteric sense, the sovereign consciousness can dream intentionally, not as escapism, but as creative intelligence. Some teachings even say that beyond compulsion, awareness can take form again by choice, as if consciousness, freed from unconscious momentum, can wear a new life like a garment. Whether literal or symbolic, the teaching is the same. When you are asleep, life happens to you. When you are awake, life happens through you. So the message isn't be all-powerful, it is be coherent. Witness without collapsing. Choose without fear. Imagine without escaping, act without being possessed by outcome. And from that mastery, reality stops feeling like a storm and becomes a sacred canvas. And now, seeker, take a breath, because this is the seal on everything we've opened. Awakening is not a moment you chase. It is a presence you protect. Remain aware, not tense, not paranoid, not forcing yourself to be high vibration, just aware, like a candle that refuses to go out. Awareness reveals the inner architecture. It shows you when the psyche is speaking through fear, when the mind is building fantasies to escape pain, when old longings are steering your choices like invisible hands. And awareness also unveils your relationship with the infinite, because the infinite is not far away. It is what you touch in stillness. It is what looks through your eyes when you stop clenching your identity. It is what remains when everything else changes. So receive this benediction. May you become the witness that cannot be seduced by the storm. May you recognize the body as a temple, not a definition. May you cleanse the psyche until it becomes a clear mirror. May your soul align with what is real, beyond fear, beyond fantasy. And may your spirit lead your life with quiet authority, because you were never meant to live as a reaction. You were meant to live as a conscious force. Every day is the same choice, to sleep inside the dream or to awaken inside it. If this message stirred something in you, if you felt that inner yes, then don't ignore it. Share this video so this teaching reaches the ones standing at the same threshold. Subscribe if you haven't already for more deep dives into spirit, psyche, and the hidden mechanics of awakening. And in the comments, write one sentence. I choose awareness, if this resonated with you. Because when you speak it, you seal it. And when you seal it, you become it. Until next time, universal consciousness,